What's up, everybody? We're going to take a look at the clean and press. This is two movements. We'll focus more on the press today, and I'll have a full video out on the clean. Let's take a look at what a few of these look like, and then we'll start breaking it down. Okay, so let's start it from the beginning. I really want to emphasize this. If you really haven't owned your swing or your single arm swing, this is not something I would recommend doing because this is a more advanced version really of a swing. The movement is the same. You can see that my starting position is the exact same as if I was going to do a single arm swing. My arm is straight from here. As I hike the bell, you notice my shoulder has stayed packed the entire time. I'm not letting my shoulder hunch forward. Now from here, what I want to point out is when you are doing your clean, I want you to imagine that there is a wall just right in front of you, and you cannot let your bell touch that. So in order for me to do that, the second I begin my hip snap, my upswing, I'm also simultaneously rowing as hard as I can. So watch, you'll actually see my elbow start to pull. So here's my upswing, and right off the bat, you can actually see my arm is already bending. And then from this position here, you can see that I stayed behind that wall. If I don't pull my elbow back there, what's going to happen is my bell is going to instead sort of loop out here. It's going to be more like a big bicep curl. You might even be able to catch it with a packed lat, depending on how light it is, but you're going to feel a ton of force or impact coming back through your shoulder. Okay, so I get to the top from this position here, and again, I'll put a video up on the clean. If you're not packed in this position here, you're not going to be able to press. So I've actually cleaned. I don't even have to reset my shoulder. I caught it in a packed, tense position. From here now, all I have to do is begin my press. Push. Bell is overhead. So here's what I'm going to be looking at. And I have super tight lats, super tight chest, so I did a lot of prep work before this. We want a straight line from ankle, knee, hip, we'll just say through spine, shoulder, ear. I always tell people when you finish your bicep, you won't be touching your ear unless you're just that huge of a person, which I'm not. But it will be next to it. We just want to make sure that you're not shrugging. So if you're looking in a mirror, you should be able to see daylight between your neck and your shoulder. I get to the top though, I've hit my straight line, I'm in full extension. I want to hold this for about a second so I don't go up and down. Coming down, we're not dropping the bell. What I want you to imagine is that the bell is like bungee corded to the ceiling, so you're actually going to be pulling it back down. What that's going to do is that's going to make sure that your lat stays on the entire time. So I'm staying active. I've never once started to be blah and drop. I'm staying tense. From here, again, I'm not just going to launch my bell out. I'm going to keep it, tightest, but I'm pretty much just going to give it a push forward, let it naturally swing. So it's falling. From here, I begin my hip hinge, pause. Again, this looks the exact same as the downstroke of a swing. So a little test. If you're ever doing these things and these look different than your single arm swing, it should look the exact same at the bottom. No different. Again, I begin my upswing, and again, pulling. And by the time I lock out, boom, I've caught it in the rack. Again, if you're really going to nitpick this, you'll see lots of little things that I need to work on too. This is one of the harder things for me to really work on. I don't know why. It's always been the one that I've probably struggled with the most. And again, we launch, we pack, so my legs are locked, my butt's tight, my abs are locked, and I'm going to start to press. Right about here, I see a lot of people doing this. Well, they'll start to kind of do the limbo. They're like, oh, my chest muscles are really strong, I'll push with those. I'm keeping a tight, packed position. So as I'm pressing up, I always imagine that I'm trying to take my rib cage and kind of pull it down as I'm pressing just so I don't start to elevate my rib cage. I hit my full lockout position, and there is my press. Okay, let's look at this from the front. This is at the end of a workout. You can see that 24 kilo is feeling a little bit heavier than 24 kilo that day. But I'm still able to hold position. We'll talk, as you'll notice, a minor, almost a lean. We'll kind of talk about how to stay within standard and what's acceptable and what's not. Okay, I'm in starting position. Again, I have a full thing on the single arm swing and starting position, so check that out. I hike, and immediately as I hip snap, I'm driving my elbow, boom, backwards towards the wall. By the time I catch it, boom, I'm locked out. What I want to see here is, you can look at my form. It's not perfectly vertical. However, due to just, we'll say, your body's composition, your body shape, what I am doing is I'm driving my elbow in as hard as I can. That's going to keep my lat nice and tight. What I see a lot of people do, though, is that when they start their press, the reason why they fail is we want we'll just say your entire forearm moving up as one unit. So it's not going to be like elbow, wrist, elbow, wrist. It's not a seesaw. It's going to be one unit. So you should see the bell should be moving with your elbow. What I see a lot of is this: the elbow will kind of kick up first. If my elbow kicks up first, now my forearm is at this angle here, and it's like it's like an MMA submission. You don't have enough strength to fight that. So from here, I'm going to press, and again, say we're keeping a nice vertical press. I'm pushing, pushing, pushing. I get to the top, and I'm locked out. We'll talk about wrist position. Let me just put it this way. You need to make sure that your wrist is neutral. So if you're going to punch a punching bag, you won't want to have your wrist hyper flexed or hyper extended. It's going to be locked out and straight. If you break that during your press, you will actually probably not be able to hit your weight, or it'll be substantially reduced. So keep the wrist in, we'll say, a nice neutral, quote-unquote, punching position. What I want to do is I want to point out, when I'm on my left side, you can notice that as I start to press, my spine has done a slight shift. I mean, you can see that, from here to here, that's pretty much straight. I'm actually giving a slight lean. I'm working on that because I want to try to stay perfectly straight, but I am staying within standard, meaning I'm not arching, I'm not hyperextending my back, I'm not leaning back, I'm not breaking. You're not seeing this massive, just crumpled mess in my spine. So a slight lean is okay. The idea is that we're working towards maintaining, we'll say, just full body structure throughout the entire movement. When I come back down, again, my wrist is staying over my elbow rather than I'm not letting my elbow kink out here. So a lot of times with people, when I have them focus on almost keeping the elbow closer to their midline, that's been a huge factor or a huge helper. I'm going to rack the bell, downstroke for the swing, boom, hips are loaded. Again, I begin by my hip snap, elbow, row, catch. So I'm already in a packed position. I'm going to punch through and lock out. Last thing I want to point out is if you look at my my offhand, and the term for us in dorks is called muscle irradiation. What I want to do is I'm keeping that entire arm really, really tense. I mean, some people will make a fist. I'm actually just kind of webbing out my hands as hard as I can, but that arm is not relaxed at all. In fact, if some people will grab onto a tennis ball or a water bottle and they'll just squeeze it as hard as they can while they're pressing, and what that can do is that can actually, we'll just say, help keep structure in the entire body. Even though we're pressing, in this case with my left hand, we want the entire body pressing as a unit. My stance is pretty wide. If I was going to do a continuous press, I'd probably narrow it up. But since I'm going right back into the swing, or into the swing clean, I should say, I didn't adjust my stance. But if I was going to go for a heavier press, I would probably, have my feet slightly narrower. Okay, this is a overview of the clean to press, and I really mean a basic overview. There's about a million other things that we're going to talk about. I'll put up a video on a press corrective. I'll link it here. But again, if you've kind of owned the swing, the single arm swing, and you've already been, we'll say, properly coached in person by a certified kettlebell coach, again, I go through the SFG, then feel free to practice this on your own. Don't try to learn it over YouTube, but this hopefully will be a little tool for you to kind of look at the movement and, slowed down. Okay, good luck.